did it over the Easter holidays. And the Easter holidays, the entire message of the Gospels of the Easter holidays was love one another. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. If Jesus Christ was alive today, he would be called a groomer, he would be called woke, and he would be called a socialist.
Jesus Christ. Take that!
Hello everyone and welcome to This Week is Stupid for the 8th of May 2022. We begin our segment with some interesting news from India where a murderer has managed to get away because the police has lost the evidence in a very interesting predicament. The story takes place into the town of Jaipur and the cops claim that a monkey has stolen the evidence. The police allegedly planted the evidence under a tree because the police station was already filled. You know, this leads to a couple of questions, such as just how much crime is there being committed in Jaipur that the police station is filled with evidence? Or maybe the police is just so diligent in their activities that no string of hair is left untouched. No bed is left without a blacklight. And they managed to collect everything so that the entire police station is now filled. And they had to put the murder weapon under a tree. Like, you think a murder weapon, being essential to the case, could have some place in the police station? And they would use some other, more less interesting evidence to place under a tree? But whatever. You know, an Eastern European-oriented mind would look at this and say that there might have been some corruption afoot. Like, we shouldn't eliminate the possibility that the murderer paid the cops so that the evidence is missing. And the cops were like, oh, well, I guess a monkey took it. Could be, you know, but again, the Eastern European mind is conspiracy-oriented. We don't have fact-checkers and debunkers here, and this is how we think. This is what happens when you don't have enough fact-checkers. But let's not get carried away because we're talking about rising crime. Apparently, violence in downtown Chicago is hurting Broadway shows and will all pay the price. I wonder if the Chicago police has enough place to store all the evidence. Or maybe, you know, you can have a high crime rate and you can have no evidence if the police isn't doing their job, which is pretty much what the people at Broadway are complaining about. Apparently, patrons of musical arts have a right to feel safe. Man, I really hate this American expression, the right to feel. The right to feel. No one has a right to feel shit, because feelings are subjective. If you put a spider in my room due to arachnophobia, I feel unsafe. But I'm not objectively unsafe. I mean, you can put a person in a dangerous neighborhood and they can feel safe because they probably don't care about it. You know, they grew up in that place. Or you can have a person in a very safe area and they can feel unsafe. No, what you want to say is that patrons of musical arts have a right to be safe. Okay? Being objective, grounded in reality. Feeling subjective, grounded in La La Land. Damn it, I need to come from Romania to explain this. But all in all, yes, patrons of musical art do have a right to be safe. Yes, crime is rising at an all-time high in Chicago, but we all paid the price because Broadway most affected. That is a brilliant editorial, Chicago Tribune. Excellent, yes. Maybe, just maybe, demonizing the police was wrong. Maybe, just maybe, not being tough on crime is wrong. I mean, look, crime is not rocket science. It's very simple. You're either tough on crime and you get less criminals, or you're compassionate on crime and you get more criminals. Because that's the role of a prison, is to separate the criminals from the law-abiding citizens. That's the primary role, the primary function. But I suppose when the ideology is that the criminal is a victim of society, then society becomes the victim of the criminal. But, it's difficult for the government to invest resources in order to handle crime when it's got other more important things to do, such as demonizing the opposition.
Because this MAGA crowd is really the most extreme political organization that's existed in American history.
And right now on social media, you have this thing trending called Ultra MAGA. Like, what is Ultra? Is that like Ultra Instinct from Dragon Ball? Like, how would that even look like? In this state, I say racial slurs before I even think about them. What? His end slurs are so quick. How is that possible? But okay, if the government isn't tackling crime, then what exactly is it doing? Well, apparently, Biden officials say that food shortages will push farmers to green energy. Never let a crisis go to waste. She echoed other Biden official views on Russia's war with Ukraine as a great opportunity for their energy agenda. Wait, okay, this can't be right. This is clearly right-wing misinformation, the worst type of misinformation on the internet. What's that? It's actually true? Okay, play the clip then.
Fertilizer shortages are real now because Russia is a big exporter of fertilizer. And even though fertilizer is not sanctioned, less fertilizer is coming out of Russia. As a result, we're working with countries to think about natural solutions like manure and compost. And this may hasten transitions that would have been in the interest of farmers to make eventually anyway. So never let a crisis go to waste, but we really do need this financial support from the Congress to be able to meet emergency food needs so we don't see the cascading.
They did say that, didn't they? Man, I love politicians and the people in power. Whenever you're hungry, whenever you're doing poorly, they are salivating. They are salivating and they're thinking, what a great opportunity. It's kind of like if you wanted to buy your neighbor's house, but he never wanted to sell. And one day you look up the window and you see that your neighbor's house is on fire. And your wife goes, come on, we gotta help him out. Let's take some buckets. Let's call 911. And you're like, no, woman. This is a great opportunity. He will finally sell. My long life dream and aspiration is coming to fruition. Isn't it nice to have such people in power? Isn't it nice to know that they watch over you and they want what's best for you and your family and they want to give you safety? But, unfortunately, people talk. And when people talk, they spread the dark energy which can harm the people in power. And that dark energy is misinformation. Ooh, it's quaking like I, from my little desk here, can do it, but I do not because I'm a good citizen. But other people are using the airwaves, the internet, to terrorize the people in power with misinformation. So now the US is going to have the misinformation czar. A czar so powerful that it will be able to tell fact from fiction. Now, she did do an oopsie in the past and apparently decided that the Hunter Biden laptop, which wasn't good for the people in power, was misinformation. It was a Russian thing, which now turns out to be true. But, it's an oopsie. Oopsie doopsie can happen. But still, she's under a lot of criticism now. So we have the White House stepping up and saying that she's got a lot of credential. Like, she is so experienced. She's got so much expertise, you wouldn't believe it.
Ever since I was a baby, I have had one dream in mind. And each Christmas, I think maybe it will finally come true. It's a simple wish that everyone has had from time to time. So I know you'll understand me when I share my dream with you. I want to be rich, famous, and powerful. Step on all my enemies and never do a thing. I want to be rich, famous, and powerful. So all I have to do in life is sit around and sing. I don't want to work, struggle, or compromise. When I set a goal, I want to reach it right away. 'Cause want what I want, and I want it all today. I don't want to audition. I don't want to take class. I want to be discovered while I'm sitting on my ass. I should not have to struggle. I should not have to sweat. I tried that for 10 minutes once, and look, what did I get? What does it take to be famous and powerful? Santa, if you're listening, please tell me what to do. Who do I fuck to be famous and powerful? I've done everything I can, and now the rest is up to you. I'm rich, famous, and powerful.
When the department picked her, was the department aware of her TikTok videos?
Senator,
They're really quite precocious.
Senator, I was not aware of those videos.
Precocious, chat. Precocious. The word of today is precocious. And by the way, don't pause the video to see my search history, because I am smarter than you. You think you're smart? No, you're dumb. I'm smarter than you. This is incognito mode. These are the default ones. But instead of trying to be smart, you should pay attention to the video. Precocious. Precocious. Adjective of a child having developed certain abilities or inclinations at an earlier age than is usual or expected. A precocious, solitary boy of behavior or ability having developed at an earlier age than is usual expected. What is precocious behavior? I think this one would shed some light. Exceptionally early in development or occurrence, exhibiting mature qualities at an unusual early age. I don't think like the word precocious clearly defined her singing. But still, you know, I mean, if it was in the US Senate and this is what Google tells me that precocious is, then it must be true.
Republicans are criticizing your decision, the administration's decision to choose Nina Jankowicz to lead this disinformation board. They say she is not somebody who is neutral. Your response?
Eminently qualified, a renowned expert in the field of disinformation. Absolutely so.
Man, when do I study to become an expert in disinformation so I too can learn the difference between fact and fiction? Look, I might be buying a new car in the future, is all I'm saying. And the car salesman, even though he's an expert, he might try to lie or manipulate the truth in order for me to make a bad purchase. And unfortunately, I can't have Biden's czar next to me when I really need them. Like, she is there when the politicians need her, but when I need her, she's not there. So maybe I could benefit from that powerful wisdom. It doesn't seem to be that difficult to teach to a person, because even though she's got so many licenses and experiences, she still has time to do comedy and TikTok videos. So it doesn't look like it takes that much to train a person into telling fact from fiction. So instead of having like a czar paid from the taxpayer money, why not teach every single American to differentiate between misinformation and good information so that it can also help them amongst their lives? Again, when they're buying a car, when they're buying a house, when they're taking a student loan. I heard the student loan is very problematic. It's going to be again on the agenda on whether or not they should abolish it. But the program will continue. Like, they will abolish student loan, but they will also allow people to keep taking loans in the future, because that makes sense, right? But anyway, right, back to the misinformation. Look, Babylon Bee should be guilty of heresy. They have hired an army of witches and wizards because they have the power to predict the future. How do they do this? Why isn't Babylon Bee not in the government? Because they could have predicted Putin going into Ukraine. Like, think about how many lives they could have saved, right? Like a satirical website, but in reality, it's a website that predicts the future. Look here. Government Disinformation Board determines all criticism of government disinformation board to be disinformation. So this is a Babylon Bee article masquerading as satire, but this just dropped. Mallorca cites misinformation about the Homeland Security's disinformation board. He says the comparison to George Orwell 1984 are wrong. Okay, so a metaphor is wrong. That is disinformation. That is not accurate. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas on Sunday defended the department's new disinformation board amid pushback from conservatives who says that the effort is Orwellian. No, this is what a free and just and democratic society does. Okay, they set up disinformation boards. I don't know how the United States managed to go on so long without a disinformation board. Like, how did the citizen manage to get through the Cold War when there was so much disinformation going on, and that there was a propaganda effort by the Russians in order to persuade Americans to become more pacifistic, to stop getting involved in the world stage, to allow Soviet Russia to do whatever it wanted. And yet they didn't have a disinformation board. Like, how did the public manage to tell the truth from fiction? I mean, think about it. All throughout American history, they just went on without this very essential thing, which the Soviet Union had it. You know, like the Soviet Union had their own version of a disinformation board. Nazi Germany had it. China has it. But now it's time for America to grow up, to mature, and to finally treat its citizens like the children that they are. But look, trust me when I say that the government has your best intentions. The government, especially politicians, they're never corrupt. They never have their own agenda to remain in power. They always care about you. They think about you. I mean, when you want trust and safety, you look towards the government. Which government? The US government, which apparently just released an ad saying that we can deceive, persuade, change. Cyber. The Department of Homeland Security, yes, the same one that's having like the disinformation board to tell you the truth, is also saying that they can deceive, persuade, change, and cyber. This is from Twitter, okay? This is not from Alex Jones. It's called the First Special Forces Command, official account of the world's premier partner, irregular workforce force, special forces, psychological operations, civil affairs, special operations to statement. Now, if you click on this, you can see their entire advertisement where they literally brag about how they deceive, persuade, and change. These are the people watching over you, making absolutely sure that you can tell fact from fiction. Oh, well, you know what? Rest assured, you will never believe a lie again. Da. President Zelensky, I regret to inform you that the United States has a new thing. You may be wondering why they are screaming. And this is the fact that traditionally reactionaries have used logic and reason in order to communicate with other people and share their opinions on a debate. But progressives are more enlightened and they channel emotions in order to win debates. So what they are doing right now is that they are gathering the chakra. They require the magical energy from the air and they are powering up. They're going into ultra instinct mode, like Goku, as we talked in the beginning, in order for them to have the emotional capacity required to deal with these levels of protests. Now, there's a lot of misinformation going on the internet. Apparently, the authoritative sources, the holy mainstream media, is busy promoting horse medicine, which is very interesting considering that only a couple of months ago, Joe Rogan was in a pickle for also promoting horse medicine, but I guess it was a different affliction. And because of that, CNN immediately was on the case and squashed that noise. But now CNN is nowhere to be found. Neither is the disinformation czar, which I assume is busy making TikTok videos. So I'll try my best to become the information czar. See how it works? Biden has the disinformation czar, but you come here on my channel for the information czar. Let's talk a little bit about abortion. A topic that, honestly, as a European, doesn't really interest me, especially not under the Biden era when all prices go up and great opportunities are willing to be found. But Okay, fine. The Supreme Court of the United States decided that no legislation can be made in order to prevent abortion, because this is a private matter between the doctor and the patient. So no one else should get involved. Unfortunately, we have lived through the Biden era where the medical confidentiality is not as sacred as it used to be, because now it's all about the QR code and showing the QR code to your waitress. You need to display to the entire world your medical information. And my body, my choice, also something that's very ancient and reactionary now, because it's not really your body, your choice. It's the government mandate. So because of this, right-wingers took advantage of the situation and have now managed to change the cultural conversations to the point where the Supreme Court is overlooking at a very old decision, that of Roe v. Wade, which is, as I mentioned before, the decision to sanctify, to make sacred the information between a doctor and a patient. And there was a leak showing that the Supreme Court is going to overrule Roe v. Wade. So what does that mean? Well, first of all, the American Constitution doesn't mention abortion at all. Apparently, the Founding Fathers weren't so forward-thinking, which means that the Supreme Court, which deals in the matter of the Constitution, doesn't have any legal grounds to pronounce themselves one way or another. It's not legal, but it's not illegal. It's up to the states to decide. So as you can imagine, you know, the left, who are all about democracy, I mean, they want to protect and save our democracy, they would be more than happy, more than willing to allow the democratic process to take place. So what is the democratic process? Well, because it's a controversial issue, some people are for it, some people are against, and then they go vote, and the legislator is going to pass legislation depending on various states. And if a person doesn't appreciate the values of their particular states, because they're in the United States, they can do the horrible thing and cross states' lines. Yes, you can cross states' lines, and you can either live in a place that you want, or you can get the treatment that you want if you cross states' lines. But there is another disinformation going on. You know, when you talk about abortion, it's not a zero-sum game. Like, when you look at the percentages, you will notice that overwhelmingly people are against the extremes. So the concept of banning it altogether, you're going to find a high number of people that are against that, including right-wingers. Like, there are right-wingers who are against the idea of complete ban. And on the other hand, there are left-wingers who are against the idea of allowing, like, 1 day before birth. And you might say, well, V, what the fuck? Like, what do you mean 1 day before birth? Well, it's not something that I came up with. Listen to this.
Delegate Tran.
Yes, sir.
How late in a pregnancy would your bill apply if a physician was simply willing to certify that the continuation of the pregnancy would impair the mental health of the woman? How late are we talking about?
Well, so the way the suggestion that we've made in the bill is to say it's in the third trimester and at the, with the certification of the physician. So
how late in the third trimester would you be able to do that?
It's very unfortunate that our physicians, witnesses, were not able to attend today to speak specifically.
No, I'm talking about your bill. How late in the third trimester could a physician perform an abortion if he indicated it would impair the mental health of the woman?
Or physical health.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm talking about the mental health.
So, through the third trimester. The third trimester goes all the way up to 40 weeks.
Okay. But to the end of the third trimester?
Yep. I don't think we have a limit in the bill.
So, where it's obvious that a woman is about to give birth, she has physical signs that she is about to give a birth, would that still be a point at which she could request an abortion if she was so certified? She's dilating.
Mr. Chairman, that would be a decision that the doctor, the physician, and the woman would
I understand
make at
that. I'm
that
asking
point.
if your bill allows that.
My bill would allow that, yes.
Now, in the United States, the conversation about abortion was a negotiation between the left and the right. And the middle ground, the consensus that was reached, was that it's going to be safe, legal, and rare. This is what the left part of the agreement was. But now, due to some extreme radicals, which has managed to swing the pendulum so far away that it left the room, that agreement no longer holds, and this is probably why the right-wingers are upset. I mean, look at this. She's smiling. Why is she smiling? Because she knows how absurd this is. She knows that you cannot make this argument towards any person in good faith. Unless there's censorship, unless there's terms of service, unless there's a mob that will shut you down, no single normal person is going to admit that, yeah, well, if the woman is dilating, we can totally have it. Like, no, that just doesn't happen, okay? Anywhere except in the la-la land of people on the far left. And this conversation doesn't happen in a bubble. People are aware that this exists. There's many other videos with lawmakers pushing for similar shit. The governor of Virginia is famous for doing it, and many, many others. And I know that progressives want to swap this under the rug and pretend that these conversations don't happen and people don't know about them, but people do. And now people are a little bit upset. And given the fact that progressives have put a woman on the Supreme Court, which doesn't know what the woman is, like she can't define it, I think right-wingers are going to take advantage of this situation. And it's quite funny to see how fast the extremists on the left become biologists overnight. Because apparently, you need to be a biologist to be able to define what a woman is. And none of them had a problem with that lady on the Supreme Court. None of them have a problem when articles, sometimes from medical literature, were talking about black birthing people. And therefore women's rights, while erasing the concept of a woman. Like, imagine if you have this conversation in your day-to-day life. Imagine if you went to your mother and you said, how's it going, birthing person? Or if you go to your girlfriend and you say, hey, birthing person, let's go and have a nice date together. You would get slapped. I mean, you need to be so detached from the member of the fairer sex to think that this is normal to talk this way. To think that this is acceptable to speak to another person like this. Imagine if you were to call men inseminator person. Someone coming up to you and calling you an inseminator. Wouldn't you, like, automatically slap them? We're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? So this is the level we're at. This is the playing field. And the hysteria which is coming because they know they lost the argument. They know like they're in a very weak position, which they put themselves into. No one forced them there. They themselves, like this is self-inflicted. They are having the worst meltdown that I have ever seen in my life. Because they know that if the Supreme Court repeals this, then the legislators are going to show that the left position isn't as popular as they claim. Because obviously, there's going to be elections. And if you have a politician that has one stance or the other, they're going to win based on their states. Like if you're in California now, I'm pretty sure that anyone that even remotely tries to touch abortion law is going to not be able to win. But if you're in a other state and you say, okay, well, maybe if the woman is dilating, that's not so good. Let's limit it a little bit. Let's make it like it's in Europe. They might win. And the left knows this, which is why you get articles like Alito's plan to repeal the 20th century, okay? Like, I just want you to understand the peak civilization standard is if you have abortions or not. Like, if we find some aliens and we want to decide if they are past the medieval stage and they're civilized or not, you look like, okay, do they allow abortions? And by the way, like, repeal the 20th century, like what, the Holocaust and 2 world wars? We go back to the sexual ethics of the Roman orgies? I mean, I'm not really that against it, you know, if you think about, like, repealing 2 world wars, I think that's a plus. You have people saying that the right to abortion is sacred. I mean, last time I checked, sacred comes from God. Depending on your religion, like maybe there are religions where this is the case. I don't know, but definitely they're not the majority. And if, you know, like they feel that their rights are being oppressed in the United States as a religion, last time I checked, Mormons aren't allowed to marry more than one wife. Muslims aren't allowed to marry more than one wife. You know, I mean, you have to make some sacrifices. Look, if I go to Saudi Arabia, I can't drink alcohol either. Even though I should be able to take communion, I would understand the situation because I chose to go there, right? But all in all of this talk that you're going back to the medieval time, you're going back to the Dark Ages, oh, it's a far-right extremist position, the most extreme organization in the earth. First of all, I want to point out that the Catholic Pope is against it. So is the church now, the Catholic Church, an extremist organization? Really? The Pope, which talks about open borders and protecting the environment and all the other shit. Like, is he an extremist now, the Pope? Okay, you know, maybe he is. I don't know. But what I do know is that Europe itself must be filled with extremists. I mean, when you compare, you notice that the United States is a nation of the extremes. From our point of view, the US is extremist because either they go one way to the left or they go too far to the right. They can't just go into the middle like normal people. Like, the legal limit in most European countries is between 11 and 20 weeks. But I guess, like, the people from here, and from California, and from New York, is going to say that these people are in the medieval time, right? I don't know about this. Like, I press X to doubt, okay? I've just seen the map. I checked a few states. I checked with Romania and a couple of others, and it seems legit. So, if there's any problems with this, do let me know. But yeah, that's what I think about this issue, which I hope I don't have to talk about it, because it's such a goddamn boring subject. You know, the price of lettuce is $10. $10 the fucking lettuce. And you want me to care about this shit? Instead of talking about the gas prices, the lettuce, the human rights violations that we experienced. No. We need to talk about this. I would choose not to. I would prefer not to. You know, it doesn't really, like, in a normal circumstance, yeah, sure. But, like, given the current year, when World War III is around the corner, I would say, like, maybe this conversation is something that I personally would choose not to talk about it. There are far more intelligent people that would probably have far more to say about this. So, anyway, right, I'm going to be live streaming right now. And trust me, you will love the live stream. Like, there is a link into the pinned comment, which will take you to my live stream. Go to my live stream right now. Like right now, you need to move the mouse and click it. Like, trust me, you may not like live streams, but if you like This Week is Stupid, you will like the live. Just go down, pinned comment, click it, and it will take you right there. So hopefully, I'll see you there on my live stream channel, and take care.